Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Wellness Wizards. Today we will be talking about social connections.
Okay, so I have a question for you. When you go to see your doctor, what kind of questions does she ask you?
Do you want a Pedialyte popsicle?
They ask about the year trip. They also ask if you want donuts or nachos and pizza.
You're not going to a restaurant. I'm talking about when you go to your doctor,
Oh.
your pediatrician. What does she ask you?
Yeah, when we were walking to the room, they asked that.
Oh, well, that's sometimes when they're having like a potluck party because they love you so much. But
High chews.
Yeah.
High chews are disgusting, even though I haven't had one.
She doesn't ask this to me, but she asks you, and she asks, she sees on the chart that we're like due or early for a blood test or a shot, and then she asks, you're a little bit early, but you can get it. Do you want it? And you're like, yeah, let's give it to them, and then we have to get 15 million shots. That's what they ask.
all right.
I love shots.
Okay, great.
Needle.
Please don't yell into the mic. My eardrum's going to burst.
Needle.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what happened when I went to see my doctor. Normally they asked a lot of questions about what do you eat and like, do you smoke and drink and how much and, about exercise. But this time my doctor approached my visit very differently. She asked me when I walked in, what made me happy?
Us?
You do make me happy.
Yay.
You do make me happy. But she really wanted to know about my connections with people and my, like my friendships. It was an interesting question. And so one of the things that we don't actually ask very much as doctors, but she did. And it was really interesting because, when we talk about longevity, do you know what longevity is?
Nope.
Longevity is like how long you live, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right? But when you talk about longevity, actually one of the biggest determinants of how long and how happy you are, not just how long you live, but one of the biggest determinants is your social connection.
Yeah, it's not many people talk about the social connection at doctor's visits. They only think health is the only part of being healthy. But even though it's in the word, I guess that's why some people might think that. But social connections are a big part because then if you don't have any friends, then you just sit home all day and you do nothing. And then you get bored and unhappy and then your body doesn't do anything.
No, when you get bored and unhappy, you go and eat some junky stuff.
Oh, yeah, because you're depressed. You eat chocolates and unhealthy stuff. And then you get very unhealthy and then you die.
Wow, that was
really
diabetes!
Ooh.
Yeah.
That was really, really dismal. Okay, so you're absolutely right. So, when we're not connected to other people, we kind of go into this mode of social isolation. And when you're saying that we only talk about health, but this is social connectedness is a part of health too.
Yep.
And having a nice, strong community and, talking to people on a regular basis, but not just talking, right? Because you could talk on social media. You could talk on Facebook. Right?
Talk in real life.
Yeah, in real life. I mean,
I'm talking. I'm having a social connectivity right now.
So, but it's sharing, right? It's sharing our feelings. There are some really good things like, we're talking about just like being on social media. And there are a lot of advantages to social media. And, it can help sometimes with social connectedness. Like it can help you connect to people that you wouldn't otherwise necessarily talk to. But also it can feel really isolating when you look at people's pictures and videos and it looks like everything is perfect and awesome and amazing, right? And then you're like, oh, everybody's life is awesome except for mine because I have to suffer through all this difficulty and other people don't. There's a comparison, right? People don't write about the arguments that they have. One of the things that's really important for longevity, and again, when we talk about longevity, we're not just talking about living a long time, but living a very long and healthy life. My good friend, Michael Greger.
How is he a good friend?
Okay, he's not. But he is a really interesting person. And he wrote this book called How Not to Age. And one of the things he wrote, he signed my book for me. And one of the things that he wrote in the thing that he wrote in the book was, may you add years to your life and life to your years. So what are some things that bring you joy, or that, like, when you have shared experiences with other people, with your friends or with family?
Sleeping.
Okay, well, that is good for you. That's necessary for your development and for your health. But I'm talking about, like, when you
Doing math.
doing math. Do you like doing math with friends, or do you like doing math by yourself?
With friends.
Okay, so because you have a goal, right? Like, there's a problem and you're solving the problem together.
I like doing escape rooms. I like babysitting Devin and playing with Shabani Boy. I like going to Charlotte's house and playing with her. I like going to Caroline's house and playing with her.
Yeah. So you have some really good friends. You have some good connections. And you play things, so you have a shared enjoyment, right?
I love when Michael comes over and he teaches me trumpet.
Yeah. So exactly. So you learn something together. There's a lot of value in that. There's a lot of value in learning something together, because you're kind of working towards a goal with somebody else, right? And when you're talking about even an escape room,
we're working towards the goal to get out of the escape room.
Yeah, so it's teamwork, and you work together. When you work together in a team, it actually brings a lot of meaning to you, because you feel like you're doing something valuable. What do you do when you play with your friends? Like, what kind of things do you play?
We play with dolls.
Okay. Sometimes do you kind of equate what your dolls are doing to, like, what you're feeling at that moment? Happy?
No.
No? That doesn't happen?
No.
What about you, Neal? So you like to play trumpet.
I like playing Winter Wonderland on trumpet.
It's a really interesting thing. So have you heard of the Blue Zones?
No.
There are these 5 geographical locations in the world where people live longer than other people, and they are really, like, they're actually really healthy.
New Zealand.
Even at older ages. So New Zealand doesn't have one of the Blue Zones. So there's one in Sardinia, Italy. There's one in Ikaria, Greece. Okinawa, Japan. And Nicoya in Costa Rica. And the 5th one is in Loma Linda, which is here in California. These 5 locations are kind of, there's something really amazing and incredible in these places. And part of it has to do with their diet, part of it has to do with their exercise. But one of the things that's really important is that these are places that have very, very strong social connections within people, okay? I mean, even if you look at, like, our own family in Florida, everybody lives within like a 5-minute walk of each other. They see each other 3 times a day, right? And they all actually are doing really well.
Only Nanu, Nani, and Ananana are active.
No, actually, everyone's active.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to look at their ages, right? They're not going to be, like, running around. I know that Nanu loves to chase you and play tag and everything with you, but...
And fly kite!
And Ananana plays tennis.
Yeah, he does, right? And they're active, and they're also... But I think one of the big things that kind of is keeping them doing as well as they are is that they're connected to each other. Like, they talk to each other, they're supporting each other, and you feel that support from each other. So let's talk through some ways that social connectedness can help us. Like, what are you feeling like when you're sad? Like, what is that response in your body?
I get tummy ache.
A tummy ache. And what is your tummy ache a sign of?
It feels like there's a missing thing in my tummy.
Okay. So one of the things is that I think you feel anxiety sometimes and stress, right? So when you have those social connections, that's a really good way of relieving stress.
I noticed that since we got back and I've been hanging out at my friends' houses more, I've had a lot less of those tummy aches and stuff.
Yeah, and I've noticed that too.
I have a headache when I am sad, and I go and eat the whole fridge. Then I go and gobble up the house, and then I gobble up the city.
And a lot of people do that, and then often it's not like they're eating, healthy foods.
I eat strawberry.
Okay, but most people are like, okay,
chocolates and alcohol
or chips, right? So
alcohol.
When you're feeling lonely, when you're feeling socially isolated, that brings a feeling of depression. And that feeling of depression kind of triggers you to then engage in more unhealthy habits. So having that strong social connection actually encourages us to have healthier habits. Right? Because we want to be well, like, and we see other people. And one thing that's really interesting is that there's a contagiousness to like our well-being, right? So yeah, so like there have been some studies that have shown that whatever your mood is or whatever kind of your behavior is, that can be contagious for up to 3 degrees.
Oh, so like it could pass to our next door neighbor and then their next door neighbor?
Yeah, so like, even there's been studies like, for example, even for obesity, that if you like start, like let's just say everybody is a healthy weight and then one person in a group starts kind of eating unhealthy.
Oh, in a group. I thought like
in a group or even neighbors, like if you have a connection with your neighbors, right? Like then yeah, you could eat and eat and eat and you could then become unhealthy and then other people might see that and then so that kind of will pass on to the next person, which will pass on to the next person and pass on to the next person. So our mood actually affects other people and how we feel and what our habits are affects other people too.
That's very interesting. I never realized that.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about like positive influences and improving depression, helping with the isolation. Another thing is that when we have conversations with each other, that stimulates our brain, right? We think about things. You just learned something completely new that you didn't know before, right?
Yep.
You teach me things that are new all the time, right? So that actually improves my cognition.
Because we're smart kids.
Yes, you are. You're very, very bright. And you both have such wonderful ideas. And I really love your way of thinking, which is why we're doing this podcast, because you guys both think very differently in different ways. Social connection also helps you to recover from injuries much faster. Mm-hmm.
How?
I can. It actually has been shown. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I never knew that. See, I'm learning another new thing.
And recover from illnesses faster.
Bone.
Your bone is healed. Yeah. So when I'm talking about leaning on community, leaning on your friends, right? So there are different people who kind of serve different purposes in our life. Like there's various degrees, different people play different roles in our life. Neal, do you agree with me on that? Like maybe
my friends only want to play and have fun.
Your friends only want to play and have fun? Have you ever tried to talk to your friends about like things that are important to you? Not just playing and having fun, but
sometimes.
What do you talk about?
Pokemon.
No, obviously. What did the answer?
And warrior cats.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about how we can be more connected. Okay. So one of the things is, I know that you like play and you have fun and everything.
Yeah.
Right? One of the things is just like being open to other people, being vulnerable to other people.
Okay.
Right? Sometimes we would travel and you just like you'd go to someone, you'd be like, hello. And it would bring a smile to people's faces. Like nobody was just like, oh, why did you say hello to me? It was lovely. Do you remember doing that? Do you remember just going up to people and doing that?
Maybe.
Yeah. They'd be walking down the street and they're kind of like in this daze, and you just go up to them and you're like, hello. And it's like they would just smile and you would just give them these, really brief, lovely moments, which I thought was such an incredible thing. And that's something that I learned from you. Even little things like going to the grocery store.
Okay.
And just talking to someone.
Remember the time you were parking the car and on the valley we went to the temple?
Okay.
There were just people, he's like, hello, Dalu, hello, uncle. And it's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing?
Yes, to be walking with him and he just goes up to random strangers and he's like, hello, Dalu, hello, uncle.
But what did they do? What was their response?
They're just like, oh, hello, kid.
Yeah. Another thing is volunteering. Right?
Oh, yeah, I want to volunteer at an animal shelter.
Yeah. So
I want to volunteer in making books.
In making books? Well, for whom?
For myself.
Well, you know what? You love reading, and I love that about you. And I was thinking, maybe a good idea would be to go and to read to people, people who are in nursing homes, right? Because often in nursing homes, like there's a lot of, people kind of feel really sad. They're not doing well. Their health isn't great. Can't do the things that they used to do before. And often they feel isolated.
Okay.
Right? So that's a really great way of volunteering. So you're doing something that brings meaning to you. help somebody else, which is really important for our own personal growth and well-being also, right? So volunteering in a shelter, reading to people. There are things like Meals on Wheels where you can deliver food to people. We also talked about classes, right? Like music classes, sports, playing sports, doing team sports, where you're relying on other people are relying on you, right?
Okay.
Is there a sport that you think you'd like to do?
Volleyball.
Okay, volleyball.
Okay.
What
I
else?
want to do volleyball too, but I also want to do rock climbing and ice skating.
I love volleyball.
Same.
Yeah.
Don't you also love soccer?
Soccer.
Okay. So good. So those are really good, things because you're kind of working in a team together. You're solving a problem together. Other things like just, actively listening to people.
Okay.
Right? So we're having a conversation.
Yeah, and
Right.
we're listening to you properly.
Yeah. So
I'm
making
listening to you properly too.
Yes, we are fine, gentle people.
So one thing also to think about when you're having conversations with people is having empathy, right?
Okay.
Do you understand what empathy is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's caring for people.
Okay, so it's a little further than that. Neil, do you know?
You sit next to someone, but you don't say anything. It uses no words.
That's
Like
not
your-
true. Sometimes it can
like-
use
like-
words.
No, first you have to duct tape your mouth. Then
No. It's
That's
sometimes
not empathy. I think that you have the wrong idea. Empathy is not just caring. So yes, caring for someone, but you're putting yourself in someone else's shoes. What must it be like for them, right?
you know, their shoe size is too big for me sometimes.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
way too big and sometimes way too small.
Like if I walk down the stairs, the shoe would just come off.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about, right? Metaphorical shoes, not the actual physical shoes. So yeah, so exactly. So, but understanding where a person's coming from, what they're feeling, or like not saying to them, "I understand how you feel," but really trying to understand, wow, this person's really upset. Not like what's wrong with you, right?
Okay.
But like what happened to you. That's a part of empathy, right? Sometimes you don't have to say anything to be empathetic. You could just kind of be quiet. Like when my mom got sick
Mhm.
and she was diagnosed with cancer,
Yeah.
People were like, "Oh, I hope she feels better."
Yeah.
And that's a very sympathetic response.
Yeah.
But it's not really an empathetic response.
Yeah,
Right?
but what I did was empathetic.
What I do is
Yeah.
it's
You guys-
sympathetic.
You guys just
Sympathetic.
came, you sat with me. You were sad with me. Like you mirrored my body language. Like I was just kind of sitting sort of slumped and sad. And you sat next to me, also slumped and sad with me, right? And you hugged me. And you didn't say anything,
Okay.
right? But you were empathetic. And I
Yeah.
felt a very strong connection when you did that. I was like, you know like I know. Right?
Yeah, because we're smart.
No,
we're
I'm
not dumb.
sympathetic. Sympathetic.
So just, being empathetic it's a really important thing to help you to connect with other people and just trying to imagine what that might feel like. Okay? What they might feel like. And that helps with social connection when you build that empathy. Okay? And sometimes you don't necessarily know what they say, but if you just make an empathetic statement, like if you say to them, "You're really upset."
Okay.
Right? Like, I can see you're really upset. That's actually empathetic,
Okay.
right? You don't have to say, "I understand how you feel." Just, "I can see this is really bothering you a lot."
Okay, so now we know how to be empathetic.
I already am empathetic. You just learn how to be
Okay.
empathetic.
And then the other thing is that, and when we were going back to those blue zones, something else that you can do is, like putting your family first, right? Like really thinking about the people that you care about and the people that you love. And that's part of the reason that in these blue zones, people do so well is because they put other people first and they take care of each other. Like it's their priority to take care of each other. And sometimes this can happen like in a religious setting, like, some people, a lot of these places, there's a faith-based, so they believe in a religion, they have a shared faith, and that's also something that's important. So that's something that people can cultivate as well.
You want to close this out?
Bye-bye, everybody. Make sure to leave a good comment. Tell 3 other friends about Wellness Wizards. Click the like button and subscribe.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.